Good morning, everyone. Very happy to be here with you today. My name is Angelique Reddy Kalala, and I'm here representing the City of Moncton. The City of Moncton is at an excellent spot right now in the Greater Moncton area. We're actually, for the past 2 decades, we've been the economic growth engine for the province of New Brunswick. And actually our population has increased by 40,000 people over the past 25 years. And when you look at the Atlantic provinces, this is extreme growth. So we're at a really good point right now in the province of New Brunswick. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background about what I'm here to talk to you today about, and that's our immigration strategy for our area, and just to situate you a little bit in the Greater Moncton area. So Greater Moncton is comprised of Moncton, Dieppe, and Riverview. The overall population is 140,000. About 70,000 of that is within the City of Moncton. Moncton was voted best place to do business in Canada and US in the past few years. So it's an excellent spot to do business, and a lot of businesses are relocating to Moncton and the Greater Moncton area. We have a bilingual workforce, so 47% of our population can speak both official languages, and it's actually second across Canada to Montreal, which we're quite pleased to be here today. We are also the fastest growing population east of Saskatoon and the 5th fastest growing CMA in Canada. So on average, we're seeing a population increase of about 2,000 people per year in the Greater Moncton area. And 30% of that 2,000 people are coming from newcomers, so people coming from other countries. When you actually look at that percentage, though, it's quite small in comparison to other cities across Canada, so that's obviously something we really need to work on in the Greater Moncton area. In the past, Greater Moncton's solid growth has been enabled by attracting talent from across New Brunswick, but studies have shown that this is actually going to be plateauing and decreasing over the years. So we've been able to pull from a lot of different cities and smaller towns from across New Brunswick to attract them to the Greater Moncton area to work. But at this point, there's not a lot of young people to pull from, so we really have to start looking at immigration as a viable way to continue our economic growth and our population growth for our city. The regional labor market is also aging, so similar to what we heard this morning, our labor market's also aging as well. So we need to look at that immigration pool to be able to continue to sustain our growth. And also we have out-migration, so a lot of young people are leaving the Greater Moncton area, specifically in trades, and they're going out west to work. Likely that's the same case from across the country, going to Alberta to work. That's definitely happening in the Greater Moncton area. So we need to start looking at immigration as more than just filling the labor market gap, but actually to see it as how we're going to continue to prosper in the future and to really sustain our economic growth. That's so important for our community, because if we want to sustain our tax coming in so we can maintain our infrastructure as well as all of our services that we're able to provide, immigration is really the key in the way that we're going to be able to do that. So that 30% needs to go a lot higher. By 2017, we need to be attracting about 1,000 immigrants every year to be able to maintain a moderate growth for our community. So that kind of leads me to today. So I started with the City of Moncton, actually quite recent. I was working with the YMCA in community development as well as in different immigration files for the past 7 years, and I've started with the city quite recently. And I started mainly because there is such a need for immigration in the Greater Moncton area, and we really need to start focusing on that. There's amazing service providers within our area, and some of them are represented here today, like CAFE, for instance, that I saw. I believe the Francophone School District is here as well. But we really need to start working more collaboratively together, and the City of Moncton really needs to also help lead some of those initiatives as well and work with our community agencies. So in order to be able to provide this strategy, there is some work that did go into play. So we prepared a background document, a group of consultants did, on the role of immigration as a driver of Greater Moncton's economic growth. There was various studies that were reviewed and strategies across the country. Some of them that they found particularly more interesting were also the LIT programs in Ontario. So if some of you are here, your strategies were reviewed. The Greater Moncton also hosted the Greater Moncton Immigration Summit, which was in May 2013. And there was over 200 people that were represented, both community agencies, 3 levels of government, as well as many immigrants to our community. And at that summit, it was discussed basically what was needed in the Greater Moncton area to help attain, recruit, and also retain immigrants in the Greater Moncton area. What do we need to do so people feel included in society, so people can get a job, and so people can raise a family? So what do we need to do? Further to that, there was also a consultation done with over 24 service providers, as well as private firms, so different economic agencies as well, about what needs to happen in terms of putting this strategy together. And then, of course, it was peer reviewed. Once the strategy was done, we made sure it was peer reviewed by actually 2 individuals in this room, Michael Han and Chadley Balkucha. They reviewed it just to make sure that we were on the mark, and really this strategy was going to be a good strategy for our area. So some of the objectives of the immigration strategy were to develop and clearly communicate the need for immigration in recent years ahead, recommend ways to foster the institutional changes needed to make us a welcoming community, engage the business community in the attraction and integration of immigrants into the workforce, encourage governments to view immigration into mid-sized urban centers such as the Greater Moncton area in a different way. So the City of Moncton, we're at an advantageous position because we're not a regulatory body, but we can and will continue to work with the province and with the federal government to ensure that we can continue to receive immigrants in our city, and so that it's not held at a point where we can't receive, the policies aren't working for our community. We have to be able to advocate, and we have to make sure the businesses in our community can maintain to be successful, and that our economy can continue to grow as well as our population. And we also obviously have to ensure that we have a strong immigrant support structure in place. So out of the strategy, there were 18 main objectives under 3 categories, of course. So we looked at the time frame, the proposed lead. So it's not just the City of Moncton that's leading some of these strategies. It's the various community agencies. They are the experts. We're just here to make sure that everything goes well and that we can collaborate where needed. As well as priority levels. So what do we need to make happen right away, and what can wait? And why and how, of course, and how are we going to measure whether or not it's successful, those strategies? So the main objectives that came out of the strategy are attraction of new immigrants, retention and integration, immigration, entrepreneurship, and business networks. So I'll just go through a few of them and give you examples of some of the things that we would like to do and some of the things that our community saw as important to be able to attract new immigrants to our community. So better identifying workforce needs. So we want to basically meet with the top 40 employers in the Greater Moncton area to determine what are your needs and how can we help them attract immigrants to fill those posts. Also start determining some different attraction events, both nationally and internationally, to help recruit immigrants to the Greater Moncton area. Build a one-stop shop web portal. So basically it's a common web platform where people can go to get information on immigrating to the Greater Moncton area, or if they're immigrants as well, it's an easy way to find out how to access different services. Currently right now, if you were to look under the City of Moncton or different agencies' web pages, everyone will have something on immigration, but there's nothing that's pulling them all together. It's a little bit complicated, and we really want to improve on that. Use existing immigrants as ambassadors, so that's obviously working with the school districts, with the children, also working with the various ethno-cultural associations in the Greater Moncton area as well. We also want to promote Greater Moncton to new Canadians elsewhere in the country. So our motto with the City of Moncton is recruit locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. So we want to be able to go across Canada for those immigrants who might not want to live in a big urban area. The Greater Moncton area might be a better choice for them. We have some of the most affordable housing costs. So for instance, the average cost of a home in the Greater Moncton area is $163,000. I know that a castle just got sold for around $450,000. So if you wanted to buy a castle, you've lost your chance. We also want to expand on the use of post-secondary education system as a conduit for immigration. I know that's going to be discussed quite a bit here this week or this next couple of days. In the Greater Moncton area, we have a large variety of community colleges, universities, both French and English. And so we want to be able to work with them to make sure that those immigrants that are already currently in our area can actually just transition right into the workforce. They're already here. They don't have to worry about the accreditation process. They can just essentially start working in our community, and we certainly need them to stay, but we want to make sure that that link is made as well. We want to continue to focus on attracting French-speaking immigrants. Oh boy, 5 minutes, that's not good. So we want to continue to work on recruiting French-speaking immigrants as well. New Brunswick is obviously the only bilingual province in Canada. The city of Moncton is a bilingual city, and it was the first recognized bilingual city, so it's very important that we maintain that linguistic balance. We want to ensure alignment and coordination of immigrant settlement and retention services, so that's the creation of a LIP program that we're going to be doing in the future. Expansion of public awareness activities, so immigration is obviously a two-way street, so we need to make sure that our community also knows the importance of having immigrants working, and also that all these businesses are a representation of the community, so that when you go in, that you can see someone in a similar situation as you, and that's very important. In my past history with the YMCA, that's one of the things that we really made as one of the importance is that, you know, when you walk in there, it's very diverse, and it's very important for our community to be able to see that. So also to foster more immigrant-friendly services and public services. So a great example of that in the Greater Moncton area is a lot of banks and other community services such as that. Retention and immigration or integration, so municipal governments leading by example, ensuring that Francophone immigrants have broad access to English language training so they can participate fully in society, encourage local immigration networks. So currently in the Greater Moncton area we have over 30 ethnocultural associations. We want to ensure that the ones that are inactive can continue to grow, and obviously we want to establish a spousal employment referral network. So we all know that if the family isn't happy, so for instance if the husband has a job and the wife doesn't, or vice versa, and they're unhappy, likely that family is going to relocate. So we want to make sure that we're working with the entire family. And in terms of the third main objective, which is attracting immigration, entrepreneurship, and business networks. So attracting more high growth potential immigrant entrepreneurs and identifying our community strengths and growth in community, and then matching some of those with people's interests so that when they come in, they're making informed decisions about their investments, and aligning immigrant investors with local investment needs. So really working with those two, they're both high priorities for the city. Integrating professional immigrants into local business networks, so working with the Chamber of Commerce and making sure people have those networks in place, because networking doesn't necessarily come naturally for all cultures, so we want to make sure that we can continue to work with those groups. Integrate more immigrants into management roles in public and private sectors, so for those businesses that do currently have immigrants in leadership roles, we want to focus on them and show them as leaders in our community and as champions, and encourage other businesses to do the same. So what's next? So one of the things that we want to do to be able to act on this strategy is obviously to create a local immigration partnership strategy, which would essentially be, I'm doing good then, a framework for coordinating immigration strategy and services at the community level. So obviously on this committee, similar to a lot of you, we would have settlement agencies, we'd have government, education and training, we'd have business group, community groups like the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, United Way, as well as the media. So that's really important to us. We have a lot of work to do, and it's really a team effort in the Greater Moncton area. It's an exciting time because we do have an aging population, but with that we do have a lot of opportunities in terms of immigration and in terms on building on our community and making sure that we have continued and sustained economic and population growth in our community. So moving forward, I know I'm here for the next couple of days. I'd love to speak with you, whoever of you are involved currently with local immigration partnership strategies, whether you're on the board or whether you're the coordinator or so on. I'd like to learn about some best practices from you, so please come find me over the next couple of days. I'd love to speak with you. Thank you.